Mayor of Vodava, Poland. Mr. Maynard Yashai, Deputy Mayor of Nir Haza. Dr. Zoltan Olmar, representative of the Jewish community, students and teachers, City of Nir Haza. Mr. Andrzej Pietraszk, Mayor of Płońsk, Poland. Mrs. Olympia Iwanska, Innovation Chief and Representative of the city Bystrzyca Kłodzka, Poland. Mr. Tony Koppen, Mayor of Bad Segeberg. Mr. Albert Stankowski, Director, Museum, Ghetto Warsaw, Poland. We are honored to host this important event in our city, Kiryat Motzkin, in the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Chargé des Affaires Embassy of Poland and our partners from Israel and around the world. We appreciate very much your willingness to take part in this event. It is not obvious, especially in this challenging time, in these difficult days of COVID pandemic. Your presence here means a lot for us and symbolizes the bridges that is being built between our cities and nations. I am honored to invite the host of this event, Mayor of Kiryat Motzkin, Mr. Chaim Tzuri, for welcoming greeting. Please notice that translation in English is in the chat. Please, Chaim Tzuri, bevakasha. חיים, בבקשה.
As my English is not so well, I will speak in Hebrew, and Dr. Leah Ganor will translate me. Okay, Leah?
התרגום נמצא בצ'אט, תוך כדי שאתה מדבר, הם קוראים את התרגום.
אז כבוד שר התפוצות, דוקטור נחמן שי, תודה שהגעת והצטרפת.
דברים בצד השני של האוזן.
גברת.
כואב לי.
ממלא מקומי. נורנברג. מפקד משמעות דוקטור לאה גנור, ראשי ערים ומחוזות, חבריי ושותפיי מגרמניה, פולין והונגריה, ניצולי שואה, קהל נכבד. התכנסנו כאן היום ערב יום השואה הבינלאומי באופן וירטואלי, לזכור ולהנציח את קורבנות השואה ומלחמת העולם השנייה.
באמת איפה אתה? תשלחי לי אמא. מה קורה פה?
להודות לשותפים והשותפות שלנו ברחבי העולם שמכבדים אותנו היום בנוכחותם. נוכחותכם חשובה לנו ואנו מעריכים מאוד את החברות שלכם עמנו. תודה לכבוד השר ולממלאת מקום שגריר פולין בישראל על השתתפותכם. תודה מיוחדת לדוקטור לאה גנור, מנהלת מרכז משמעות, שעומדת מאחורי ארגון כנס זה וזיכרון השואה בקריית מוצקין בארץ ובעולם. האמת היא שאני לא בטוח שאני אוכל להישאר כל הטקס, כי דווקא היום נפל לנו ישיבת אישור תקציב, אז אני אשאר כמה דקות ואני אאלץ לצאת בהמשך. שיהיה לכולנו ערב טוב.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Chaim Tzuri, for your kind words. I would like to pay attention again that the translation is in the chat. I am honored to invite Minister Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Nachman Shai, to deliver a speech. I would like to thank you especially for accepting our invitation and to take part in this important event. Mr.
Good evening, Leah. I'm very honored and I appreciate very much to address this special evening in Kiryat Motzkin. And I first would like to extend my warmest regards to you because you are the major power beyond the Mashmaut Center and you are the one that for scores of years have made it a center of remembrance of the Holocaust and building based on Holocaust, but not necessarily bridges between Kiryat Motzkin and other twin cities around the world. So first of all, the credit should go to you. I would like to thank the mayor of Kiryat Motzkin, the senior officials of the municipality, the chargé d'affaires of the Polish ambassador of the Polish embassy in Tel Aviv, and all the other guests. It's a great honor to welcome you all. In my position as a Minister of Diaspora Affairs, I'm in charge of combating anti-Semitism. And today we mark the special day of Holocaust Remembrance, International Day of Holocaust Remembrance at the Knesset, where I spoke lengthily about the importance of that day to the international community. We have our own Day of Remembrance, which comes later this year in context with the Day of Independence, and it's really the most immersive week in our history and in our yearly calendar. The week between the Holocaust and then the independence of the State of Israel. When we look back, at least for the last year, 2021, and we ask ourselves what happened in terms of anti-Semitism, I can report to you that the level of anti-Semitism unfortunately rose. That's a result of two major phenomena or events. One of them is a certain event. It's the military engagement between Israel and the Hamas in Gaza and along the Israeli-Gaza border. And the other one was the coronavirus continuing attack on humanity, which happens all over the world and created a certain reaction, which was very much anti-Semitic. To our great surprise, somehow the bad winds of anti-Semitism came back in the context of COVID-19, a phenomena that we were not prepared for, and we have to now to combat very strongly in order to remove it from the public sphere. We in our ministry, which was assigned by the government to deal with anti-Semitism, we monitor the social media networks. And I can report to you that they became the major nest, the house of anti-Semitism content in today's world, which is a very dangerous phenomenon, very dangerous development. We, for example, during last night, we detected at least 3.5 million posts on quite a number of social media networks carrying anti-Semitic content. That's just imagine 3.5 million, and it was done by over 400,000 users. So you can also see the volume, how big this phenomena is. And we know from other sources, we have some colleagues and other states that are following also and monitoring the social media. They came back with the same conclusion. So one of the major challenges for us all is now to turn to those mighty organizations, powerful organizations, and urge them to take control of the content, which is not easy. It's not easy because they see it as a kind of hurting the basic foundations of democracy, but they should do it. In general, I can report to you that anti-Semitism is back, and that we detect not only on the social media, but also in the public sphere. In general, thousands and thousands of attacks on Jews, personal on people, on Jewish institutes, synagogues, Jewish centers, Jewish restaurants, Jewish supermarkets, and so on. Again, we use this day to call on the international community to take action against anti-Semitism and against anti-Semitic attacks against Jews We know all how it starts, and we hope very much that we will be able to block it at the beginning and not let it continue. This is our goal. The comparison between now and the 30s and the 40s of the past century is that there is a state. There is a state by the name Israel. There's an independent state, a sovereign state where the Jewish people, after the Holocaust, in a tough war, managed to build their own independent state. So now, from that point, from this country, we can launch our struggle against anti-Semitism. We help our brothers and sisters who live all around the world. We extend our hands to them. We try to provide their needs. And more than anything, we work closely with their governments, with their respected governments, to make sure that they will use their own government authorities in order to remove anti-Semitism from the public arena. We cannot do the job by ourselves, but with good friends, states and non-governmental organizations and good people all around the world, I believe that we can succeed. We just, like all the people that are gathered here, are just an example of so many people with goodwill people that are ready to share the burden, to work together, to help on the one hand to build Israel as a strong country on the one hand, strong and safe, and on the other hand, to combat anti-Semitism anywhere in the world. So I'd like to thank you very much, Leah, for this conference, and to thank all the participants. I'll stay with you for a while. I'd like to listen to some of the other speakers, and also to invite you to stay in touch with my ministry, with the government of Israel. We are here to serve you, to help you, to provide you with any information you need, and to serve as a base for anti-Semitism, for combating anti-Semitism day and night until we win this battle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Dr. Nachman Shai, for your important words. I am honored to invite Deputy Mayor of Kiryat Motzkin, Mr. Adi Sternberg, to deliver a speech. Open your mute. You are on mute. Adi, אתה על mute.
Distinguished guest, Honorable Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Nachman Shai, Acting Ambassador of Poland to Israel, Mr. Katarzyna Rebecca Iwenskaya, Dr. Leah Ganor, Director of Merkaz Mashmaut, the Mayor of Kiryat Motzkin, Mr. Chaim Tzuri, Head of Districts and Friends from Germany, the Republic of Poland, Hungary, and Holocaust survivors. Tomorrow, January 27, many countries around the world will mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day. 77 years had passed since the Auschwitz concentration and extermination camp was liberated. The platform was bleeding and the selection ramp was empty of people. January 27, 1945 came into the world too late. 6 million Jews were no longer alive. This day symbolizes not only the communication with the memory of the murdered, but also the tragedy that is behind. Exactly 80 years ago, on January 20th, 1942, at the villa of Wannsee, on the shores of the beautiful lake of the suburbs of Berlin, a group of Nazi officers and senior officials met to coordinate the practical plans for the final solutions of the Jewish problem. The meeting documents detailed the target population intended for desperation and liquidation. It included all the Jewish in the continental Europe. 11 million Jewish were marked to death. 11 millions. The Holocaust that took place raises sharp and difficult questions about the evil of human beings. Despite the horrors, the Holocaust must not be a barrier for all of us to believe in the good, in the face of hope, in the face of life. We must look to the future, join hands with you, our dear friends around the world, and do everything possible to make sound and fight the phenomenon of anti-Semitism, racism, and hatred. Kiryat Motzkin sees great importance in connecting with all of you. We believe that in this way, it is possible to create a bridge between peoples and cultures and fight of anti-Semitism, racism, and hatred. In the last 2 years of COVID epidemic, we are all facing complex challenges, but hatred against the Jewish people and against the state of Israel has taken on a new face. Many Jews are being attacked in synagogues around the world. Therefore, this event is very important and significant milestone in the friendly relations between us. I would to emphasize that the Mashmaut Center, headed by Dr. Leah Ganor, works extensively in Israel and around the world to create bridges between youth, educators, and academia, to work together, to build bridges between people and commemorate the memory of the Holocaust and for a better future. We would like to thank you all for accepting our invitation for this event. We appreciate very much your friendship with us. Thanks to the Minister of Diaspora Affairs and to the Deputy Ambassador of Poland to Israel for your participation. Thanks to Dr. Leah Ganor and of course to Mrs. Perach Kisar. Together we will fulfill the crucial lesson from the past, never again.
Thank you, Adi, for your important words. I am honored to invite Charge d'Affaires of the Republic of Poland in the State of Israel, Mrs. Katarzyna Rybka-Iwanska, to deliver a speech. I would like to thank you especially for your hard work, cooperation, and beautiful friendship in building bridges between our nations, Israel and Poland. Thank you, Katarzyna.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Leah, for your kind words. And it's an honor for me to speak tonight at this very special ceremony. And I'm always very moved to participate in events on Yom HaShoah, in April or in May, or in the International Holocaust Remembrance Day in January. So today we join together with people from Israel, from Germany, from Hungary, from Poland, from many places to remember 6 million victims of the Shoah together. We must never forget the truth of what happened almost 80 years ago during World War II because of the Nazi doctrine of hatred. We all, across the world, we must pass the history of the Holocaust one generation after another in order to keep real the promise of never forget and especially never again. Listening to the Holocaust survivors, reading their memoirs, watching documentaries, organizing ceremonies like this one, and conferences and exchanges, and various other projects, as well as simply remembering the victims, heroes, and lessons of the Holocaust is our common duty. It is particularly important today as Holocaust deniers and anti-Semites are growing louder in global public discourse, just like Mr. Minister Nachman Shai said. Each and every one of us must speak against that, what is happening, in the internet and also in the real life. The interconnections between Holocaust denial, anti-Semitism, and hate crimes motivated by anti-Semitism are obvious. In order to effectively fight them, we need to fight them all, and we need to fight them together. Fighting and preventing Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism has a special importance for Poland. 3 million Polish Jews, the largest group of Holocaust victims, were exterminated as a result of the murderous anti-Semitic ideology of German Nazism. That same ideology pushed the occupiers to introduce a horrendous, murderous policy on the occupied Polish soil, which said that every single or any single kind of aid, kind of help given to the Jews was punishable by death. Yet there were heroes who risked their lives and the lives of their close ones in order to do something, to do anything for the Jews in danger. One of them was my personal role model, one of the biggest heroes that I'm always looking up to. Jan Karski, the man who tried to stop the Holocaust. And he used to say, and that's one of the most important quotes of his that I'm always carrying close to my heart. He used to say that we have infinite power to follow the good, and we have infinite power to follow the evil. And it's our choice. We have to choose. We can choose what we do. I think I'm very much convinced that by remembering and by cultivating and by protecting the memory and the history and the heritage of the victims of the Holocaust, we are choosing to do the good thing. And we are choosing to do it together. Thank you very much for inviting me for tonight's ceremony, and thank you very much, La, for our friendship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Polish poet Wisława Szymborska wrote, "After every war, someone has to clean up. Things won't straighten themselves up after all. Someone has to push the rubble to the side of the road so the corpse-filled wagons can pass. It's not photogenic and takes years. All the cameras have left for another war. Those who knew what was going on here must make way for those who know little, and less than little, and finally, as little as nothing." On January 27, 1945, Soviet forces army liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and extermination camp, discovering the largest Nazi killing center in Europe. Auschwitz has become a symbol of the Holocaust, representing the death of man's inhumanity to men. In November 2005, the United Nations decided to mark 27th January as an International Day of Commemoration to honor the victims of the Holocaust, and by this way to impart the memory of this tragedy to future generations. We all have a complicated common history. Jews lived for many years in countries over Europe. Most of them were perished in the Holocaust. After the war, most of the survivors came to the state of Israel and built the country. Some of them went back to their homeland and tried to relive the Jewish life in their communities in your countries. According to a report published by the Authority for the Rights of Holocaust Survivors on the occasion of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day tomorrow, we learned that 165,000 Holocaust survivors live now in Israel. The average age of the survivors is 85. 19% of them, about 31,000, are over 90, and over 50 have crossed the age of 100. In the past year, 15,324 survivors died, on average of 42 survivors daily. Our common history, as I said, is complicated. Therefore, we must work hard to strengthen our connections in different levels to create an open dialogue and fight against anti-Semitism and xenophobia. The fact we commemorate together today is the best example, the way it should be. We are standing together today, holding hands in this important moment, an important day, commemorating the victims and looking to the future, promising to fight against anti-Semitism and fulfill Holocaust survivors Abba Kovner words. We have to remember the past, to live the present and believe in the future. I am honored and very much excited to invite a very special lady she is my heroine, the lady who was there, who suffered the horrors of the Holocaust, struggled every day for surviving 5 years, who lost everything, but like a phoenix from the ashes, realized and raised amazing family, wrote more than 20 books. She is telling her story to everyone who wants to hear. She is very active in the Mashmaut Center, and she is my dear friend, Mrs. Miriam Arel, Holocaust survivor from Lodz Ghetto and Auschwitz. Miriam, please tell us a little bit briefly about yourself. Miriam.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone, to you. My name is Miriam Arel. I was born in Lodz, Poland, and now I am very happy to live in Israel. My age is 97 years. I am old, 97 years, and I am a writer, a teacher, and a librarian. I was closed in the ghetto lodge 4 years, starved of hunger with my family, and in August 1944, I was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau. One of the inmates, a Jewish man, whispered to my ear and said to me, "Say that you are 20. I said, "I am not 20, not yet. Why should I lie?" He looked at me and he saw a child 12 years old. And he asked me, "Do you want to live?" Then I began to understand. Mengele asked me, "How old are you, my king?" I said, "I am 20. He sent me, right? And there was a couple. The couple took from me everything, including my blonde long hair, and sent me together with other girls to run 7 meters of a way with small pieces of glass and to be barefoot. Don't cry. Who will cry will be shot on the spot. From Birkenau, I was sent to Bergen-Belsen, where I was a good friend of Anna Frank. I didn't know there that she will be so known in all world. From Bergen-Belsen, I was sent to a small town in Germany, Melteuer, near Plauen. This was a factory, and we had to work 12 hours a day, all night. We were starved with 1 piece of bread and a water soup. When I was young, I had a nice alt, and I staying by my machine, I used to think to myself. It was a German girl, a very young Nazi, and she heard my song. She came to me and she said to me, "Oh, sing it again." And I sang. It was in German, a love song. Ich schenk die Rosen, schenk du mir dein Herz dafür und sag noch einmal, dass du mich liebst. And she gave me a small ring, because she had a financier in Poland, and she wanted to send the song to her financier when he had his birthday. And the ring was a silver ring. Inside was written, "From Shmuel to Rachel." You understood. We have here there in the camp, in the factory, a very sadistic couple. Her name was Marianne, and she saw the ring on my finger. She beat me up very, very hard and sent me to the toilet to stay there on my knees with 2 stones in my head, above my head, and hold them 8 days. In the end, it was only 3 days. She could see me because there was a window and I could not put it down. Can you imagine such a position, to be with 2 stones above my head on my knees 3 days? And now I am unable to forget it. Dr. Leah Ganor, that you are the guest, is a great person. She's a manager of a Holocaust center in Motzkin, and many students and soldiers came to her center to hear the Holocaust story. I am between them. If I could, I was given Dr. Leah Ganor a Nobel Prize. Believe me.
Thank you, Miriam. You are moving all the time when I hear you. I'm so moved. I love you, Miriam. And I wish you lots of health. And we will get back to you after with questions. And with your permission, I would like to proceed our conference. I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. William Schneider, Head District, Hasberge, Germany. Please. Yes, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself. Landrat Schneider. You are on mute. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Good evening from Germany, dear Minister Dr. Nachman Shai, dear Major and friend Chaim Suri, dear Dr. Leah Ganor, dear Israeli friends and friends all over the world, dear ladies and gentlemen. I was very blessed to receive the invitation to the commemorative event from our Israeli friends. The common remembrance of the victims of the Holocaust is very important. Let us not forget what happened in the past, especially now at a time when anti-Semitism and agitation are unfortunately on the rise to an alarming degree. It is more important than ever to remember what we do to each other when we tolerate anti-Semitism, extremism, racism, hatred, and violence in our midst. In our district, Hasberge, many Jewish citizens became victims. They were expelled, hounded, tormented, and murdered. We must sharpen our eyes to recognize xenophobia and conspiracy theories. It's important to set a clear sign against intolerant and undemocratic attitudes and behavior in our society. Those who exclude and insult people today, or even use violence, have learned nothing from history. Jewish history is still visible in many places in our district, and the culture of remembrance is kept very much alive. This is shown by the following examples. Jewish history includes the Jewish cemeteries. There are 8 of them in our district. They are sources of the history of Jewish life and places of remembrance. In Kloisdorf, we were able to open a former synagogue as a place of learning and experience last year. Since 2014, the synagogue and its outbuilding have been renovated with the help of various grants. Now an exhibition shows the Jewish life in the small community. I would also like to mention the synagogue in Memmelsdorf. Since the renovation over 20 years ago, the synagogue is an important meeting place, especially for young people. In Kleinsteinach, there has been a museum since 2015, which shows the history of the Jews in a village of about 450 inhabitants. Our schools are also very involved in remembrance work. For example, the Friedrich Rückert High School in Ebern has created an exhibition entitled Vergiss mich nicht. This shows the fates of Jewish children in the Hasberge. This is only a small excerpt which shows that Jewish life is and remains deeply rooted in our homeland. We will continue to do everything we can do to commemorate the diversity of Jewish life and culture in our homeland, and at the same time send a clear signal against anti-Semitism. I bow down with sadness to the victims of the Holocaust and to our former Jewish fellow citizens. They remain among us. They are unforgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Landrat Schneider. I'm honored to invite our next speaker, Mr. Andrzej Romanchuk, at District Vodava, Poland. Mr. Romanchuk will speak in Polish and the translation will be in the chat. Translation to English. Please.
Dziękuję. Szanowni Państwo, jest mi bardzo miło spotkać się z Państwem w dniu bezpośrednio poprzedzającym Międzynarodowy Dzień Pamięci Ofiar Holokaustu. Temat pamięci o ofiarach Holokaustu jest bardzo ważny dla całej ludzkości, a naszym obowiązkiem jest przypominanie o tych wydarzeniach. Naszym obowiązkiem jest także czynienie wszystkiego, aby do tego więcej nie doszło. Ze swej strony mogę Państwa zapewnić, że powiat włodawski robi wszystko, aby pamiętać o ofiarach Holokaustu. Była jak najbardziej uwidoczniona. Pamięć ta ma na celu zapobieganie nienawiści międzyludzkiej, tworzeniu różnic i podziałów między ludźmi. Powiat włodawski wspólnie z muzeum, zespołem synagogalnym we Włodawie wspólnie rokrocznie organizuje Festiwal Trzech Kultur, który jest festiwalem tolerancji, jedności, uczenia szacunku do drugiego człowieka. Jest festiwalem, który przypomina o dawnych mieszkańcach Włodawy, którzy przed laty wspólnie i zgodnie zamieszkiwali to miasto bez względu na wyznanie. Nie tylko jedno wydarzenie świadczy o naszej trosce o zachowanie wspólnych korzeni. Należy przypomnieć, że muzeum zrealizowało 2 projekty przypominające o istnieniu getta we Włodawie. Powstały opracowania, jak również makiety, które zostały ustawione we Włodawie na granicach dawnego getta. Bardzo mnie cieszy, że temat dzisiejszego spotkania obejmuje nie tylko zeznania ocalałego Holokaustu, ale i otwartą dyskusję na temat ksenofobii i sposobów zapobiegania tym strasznym zjawiskom w naszym społeczeństwach. Nigdy bowiem nie wolno nam zapominać o czasach II wojny światowej w oderwaniu od ich genezy. Jeśli pozwolimy złu się powoli sączyć w nasze umysły i czyny, to nigdy nie będziemy pewni, że nie odrodzi się znów totalitarna groźba wyniszczenia całych grup, narodów i społeczności w imię zbrodniczej ideologii. Pamięć o wspólnej historii dla nas bardzo ważna również obecnie. Dlatego jako starosta włodawski bardzo zależy mi na dbałości o zachowanie wspólnego dziedzictwa. Stąd też nasze starania zwieńczone sukcesem w pozyskiwaniu milionów złotych zarówno na zewnętrzne odnowienie unikatowego w skali europejskiej zabytku Muzeum Zespół Synagogalny we Włodawie. Dziś ten bezcenny zabytek kultury żydowskiej wygląda zupełnie inaczej niż jeszcze kilka lat temu. Warto przypomnieć, że nasze muzeum przed kilkoma laty zmieniło nazwę z Muzeum Pojezierza Łańczyńsko-Włodarskiego na Muzeum Zespół Synagogalny. A wszystko to po to, aby oddać właściwy charakter tego unikatowego, pełnej historii miejsca. Ziemia włodarska została przez nazistów napiętnowana naznaczoną krwią tysięcy niewinnych osób. A to piętno ma nazwę Sobibór. W obozie zagłady w Sobiborze dawno w okrutny wyraz pogardzie dla człowieka. Oprawcy chcieli unicestwić pamięć, chcieli totalnego zapomnienia o tym obozie, sadząc w jego miejscu młody las. Strażnikami tej pamięci były jeszcze do niedawna nielicznie żyjące ofiary, ale w szczególny sposób także mieszkańcy powiatu włodawskiego, powiatu, bo w Włodawianinach pamięć o zbrodni sobiborskiej trwa, przekazywana z pokolenia na pokolenie. Jeszcze w tym roku w Sobiborze otworzymy Centrum Edukacji Historycznej Stacja Sobibór. Będzie się mieściło dokładnie w miejscu stacji kolejowej w Sobiborze. Miejscu, które pamięta wagony, którym przywieziono tysiące ludzi prosto do komór gazowych. Na zakończenie pragnę Wam podziękować za organizację dzisiejszej konferencji pani Lei Ganor oraz panu Himowi Zuriemu za zaproszenie. Zapraszam do wizyty w powiecie włodawskim. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrzej Romanchuk. And I must tell everyone that my roots are from Vodava. My father was born there, so I feel really connected to the place. I am honored to invite Mr. Wisław Muszyński, Mayor of Vodava, Poland. The translation again in the chat. Please.
Good evening. Dobry wieczór. Jak mnie słychać? Dobrze?
Tak.
Okay, thank you. It is nice to see all of you. I will speak Polish. Translation is on the chat. Dear Minister, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Marian Harel, Holocaust survivor. Jeszcze 2 lata temu wraz z nauczycielami włodawskich szkół podstawowych miałem możliwość uczestniczyć w obchodach Międzynarodowego Dnia Pamięci o Ofiarach Holokaustu w Kiryat Motzkin, mieście partnerskim Włodawy, na zaproszenie burmistrza miasta pana Chaim Suri. Niestety tegoroczne obchody ze względu na sytuację epidemiologiczną na świecie, COVID, odbywają się w formie online. Jutro jest dzień pamięci, refleksji, ale również patrzenia w przyszłość. Świat ma obowiązek pamiętać o jednym z najciemniejszych i najbardziej destruktywnym okresie w dziejach ludzkości. Tego wieczoru pamiętamy o tych, którzy stawiali opór nazistom, o tych zwykłych ludziach, którzy chronili i ratowali swoich prześladowanych bliźnich. Pamiętamy i szanujemy ocalałych z Holokaustu. Oni przezwyciężyli potrzebę zapomnienia i mówili o przeszłości, aby historia się nie powtórzyła. Tego wieczoru pamiętamy i oddajemy cześć ofiarom morderczej nienawiści nazistów. Milionom Żydów, 6 milionom Polaków, wśród których aż 3 miliony stanowili polscy Żydzi. Dlatego tak ważne jest, abyśmy wspólnie ze stroną izraelską czcili pamięć ofiar Holokaustu. W tym miejscu bardzo dziękuję burmistrzowi miasta Kiryat Motzkin, panu Chaim Suri oraz dyrektor Mashmaut Center, dr Lei Peterman-Ganor za zaproszenie. To dla mnie ogromny zaszczyt brać udział w tym specjalnym, międzynarodowym, wirtualnym wydarzeniu upamiętniającym ofiary Holokaustu. Ludobójstwo Żydów, choć dokonywane na obszarze niemal całej Europy, było szczególnie dotkliwym ciosem też dla miasta Włodawy, które od wieków było wielowyznaniowe, wielonarodowe. Przed II wojną światową żyli tutaj w zgodzie chrześcijanie, prawosławni i Żydzi. Wojna położyła kres temu wielowiekowemu współistnieniu wielu narodów i religii. Wspólnota żydowska, żyjąca we Włodawie przez kilka wieków, w ciągu kilku lat zniknęła niemal całkowicie. Dziś tradycję wielokulturowości upamiętnia i kultywuje odbywający się festiwal każdego roku, Festiwal Trzech Kultur. Piątek poświęcony jest kulturze żydowskiej, a wydarzenia odbywają się w zabytkowym zespole synagogalnym. We Włodawie trwa pamięć o męczeństwie Żydów gromadzonych przez niemieckiego okupanta w dzielnicach, więzieniach, jakim były getta. Takie getto istniało też we Włodawie. W pobliskiej wsi Sobiborze w hitlerowskim obozie zagłady zginęło prawie 200 000 ludzi. Każdego roku 14 października w rocznicę wybuchu powstania więźniów w Sobiborze organizujemy Sobiborski Bieg Pamięci. Trasa biegnie od bram byłego obozu zagłady do centrum Włodawy, gdzie było getto, tą drogą, którą naziści prowadzili Żydów na śmierć. W tym roku przypada 80-lecie akcji Reinhardt. Z tej okazji miasto Włodawa zostało zaproszone przez Katolicki Uniwersytet Lubelski do włączenia się w ogólnopolskie obchody. W ramach tych obchodów organizowane będą m.in. żywe lekcje historii dla uczniów włodawskich szkół w Muzeum Pamięci w Sobiborze i w naszym muzeum w zespole synagogalnym we Włodawie, a także spacery szlakiem włodawskiego getta. Odbędzie się również konferencja z osobami działającymi na rzecz dialogu polsko-izraelskiego i do udziału w tej konferencji planujemy także zaprosić potomków osób, które należały do włodawskiej gminy żydowskiej i liczymy tutaj na wsparcie dr Lei Ganor. Szanowni Państwo, historia idzie do przodu, ale irracjonalność i nietolerancja powracają. Pamięć o Shoah to nasza globalna odpowiedzialność. Dziś wieczorem wspominamy ofiary, składamy hołd sprawiedliwym wśród narodów i mówimy nigdy więcej.
Dziękuję.
Thank you very much. Toda rabba.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo. I'm honored to invite Mr. Meinert Yassau, Deputy Mayor of Nir Haza, and Dr. Zoltan Olmar, City of Nir Haza, Hungary. Please.
Dear Mr. Minister, dear Madam Chargée d'Affaires, dear Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Municipality of Nir Haza, I'm sending you warm greetings at today's online commemoration. As a twin city of Kiryat Motzkin, it is an honor for us to participate in this event and to pay homage to the victims of the Holocaust. Allow me to pass on the greetings and best wishes of Mayor Dr. Ferenc Kovács and the residents of the city. The Municipality of Nyíregyháza, together with the Jewish community of Nyíregyháza and the Ötvös Károly Hungarian-Israeli Friendship Group, commemorates the victims of the Holocaust in Nyíregyháza every year. I am honored that we can now pay homage together in memory of all the victims who suffered and perished innocently during this tragic period of history. And together we can pay tribute to the survivors and their descendants who still carry the pain with them that cannot be healed and who were living witnesses to an inhumanity that must never be repeated. Thank you for your attention. I wish you all good health, perseverance, and success in your future work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, friends from Nyíregyháza, Hungary.
Köszönöm.
Mély tisztelettel köszöntöm Önöket.
Most én megkérdezem.
Nyíregyháza? Yes.
Excuse me, we have a speech
Yes.
of Mr. Holmer. Thank you.
Yes, we are waiting. Yes,
Thank you very much.
Please.
Nem piros a kamera. Mély tisztelettel köszöntöm Önöket.
A very warm welcome from my side as well.
Engedjék meg, hogy elmondjam rövid beszédemet Nyíregyháza és a Holocaust kapcsolatával kapcsolatban.
Please allow me to make my speech on Nyíregyháza and Holocaust.
Emlékezés a holokauszt nemzetközi.
Remembering on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. On the 27th of January, we remember the inexplicable and unacceptable horror which also led to the destruction of the Jewish population of Nyíregyháza. We are recollecting the age which took lives and has left never healing wounds in our souls in the name of vicious ideologies. These death camps are symbols of brutality with which we can never reconcile and which one is always bound to remember. Hungary's entering the war and especially the country's occupation by Germany in 1944 put an end to all hope. Due to their geographical location, the Jews of Nyíregyháza and that of the adjacent historical counties were the first ones to suffer the horrors of the Holocaust. The forced relocation of Jews was only called ghettoizing by the public. For the implementation of the government decree affecting hundreds of thousands of people, the country was divided into zones. Our county, including Nyíregyháza, belonged to Zone 1. It was here that ghettoizing and deportations began the earliest. The so-called de-Jewishizing of the area was justified by the closeness of the front, part of which was already an operation area. Thus, the presence of politically unreliable elements was not desirable. Anti-Jewish measures multiplied after the German occupation of the country on the 19th of March, 1944. To accomplish the deportations, a corps of some 200 SS arrived in Hungary. Soon, hundreds of thousands of people were forced into ghettos under their surveillance and with the active collaboration of the Hungarian gendarmerie and public administration. Mayor Pál Sohor decreed the conscription of Jews in Nyíregyháza on the 11th of April, 1944. The windows in the houses of the ghetto were boarded up and the streets leading to the ghetto were blocked by makeshift fences. Already on the first day, 3,010 people were huddled together in these buildings. The collection of Jews from outside the city continued after the 16th of April, so their number was growing gradually. Nyíregyháza Jews were not ghettoized until the 23rd of April, so only those lived in the ghetto who had their homes in that area anyway. The collection of Jews from the city was completed by as early as 28th of April. Out of the 17,580 in the ghetto, only about 5,000 were Nyíregyháza residents. The ghetto was unbearably crowded. It was physically impossible to provide for hygienic conditions for this number of people, and the captors did not even make an effort. The ghetto was intended to be a temporary camp, so the residents began to be deported to relocation camps in the first days of May. The deportation started on the 5th of May, 1944, and was finished in 10 days. For the Jews of Nyíregyháza, the deportation was the first ordeal of the last journey. They had to leave their homes, their friends, their acquaintances for good. They had to leave the city where their ancestors had settled a century before and whose squares, streets, and buildings they had come to love. The crowd marching through the city center was a somber view. It hardly took a month and the Israelite schools, synagogues, community centers, and religious institutions stood silent. 4 years before, 250 small children studied in the Szarvas Street Jewish school, hungry for knowledge, their eyes sparkling, planning a happier future. Let us remember together the victims and all that we have lost with them, the lost communities of villages and cities, the world created by them, brought to life by the work and industry of several generations. A memorial commemorating the victims of the Holocaust was set up in the square defined by Dob Street and Holló Street the area of the former ghetto in Nyíregyháza on the 6th of June 2004. Keeping remembrance alive is vital so that the future generations get to know the darkest events of history, their tragic consequences, that they learn from the past, draw strength from the courage of lifesavers, so that these horrors could not even be repeated. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much, Nyíregyháza. Wow, you moved us very strongly, very strongly. I'm honored to invite Mr. Andrzej Pietracz, Mayor of Płońsk, Poland. Płońsk, the city that Ben-Gurion was born there. Please.
Szanowni Państwo, witam właśnie z miasta Dawida Ben-Guriona.
Again, translation in the chat.
Yeah. Przed wybuchem II wojny światowej połowę mieszkańców Płońska stanowili Żydzi. Po jej zakończeniu zostało niewielu. Płońsk, w którym przez setki lat żyli Polacy i Żydzi, i którzy to miasto uznawali za swój dom, stał się świadkiem ich najboleśniejszej historii. Od 14 lat symbolicznym marszem milczenia miasto Płońsk czci pamięć 12-tysięcznej społeczności żydowskiej Płońska i ziemi płońskiej, która w końcu 1942 roku została wywieziona z lokalnego getta do obozu śmierci w Auschwitz. W ten sposób dajemy dowód naszej wspólnej, trwającej kilkaset lat historii dwóch narodów, polskiego i żydowskiego. Milcząc pokazujemy, że nie ma naszej zgody na przejaw jakiejkolwiek nietolerancji i antysemityzmu w Płońsku, w Polsce, Europie i w całym świecie. Nie zgadzamy się na podziały na tle religijnym, rasowym i światopoglądowym. Milcząc pokazujemy także, jak groźne mogą być słowa i jak niewiele dzieli je od czynów. Przypomina mi się wypowiedź Mariana Turskiego, byłego więźnia w Auschwitz, przewodniczącego Rady Muzeum Historii Żydów Polskich, który w jednym ze swoich przemówień nawiązał do słów prezydenta Austrii Aleksandra van der Belle, mówiąc: Auschwitz nie spadło z nieba. Słowa wydają się banalne, ale jest w nich ukryty bardzo głęboki sens. Dzielenie ludzi na lepszych i gorszych, mających prawo do życia i funkcjonowania w społeczeństwie, i wykluczonych, przeznaczonych do wyeliminowania. To najpierw tylko słowa. To pokazuje, że tak naprawdę nic nam nie jest dane na zawsze. Myślę, że należy pamiętać i głośno mówić o tym, co się wydarzyło, edukować młodzież i robić wszystko, co możliwe, aby nigdy więcej Holokaust się nie powtórzył. Dlatego też od początku istnienia samorządu staramy się przywracać pamięć o dziejach Płońska, w tym o wspólnym polsko-żydowskim dziedzictwie miasta i najtragiczniejszych faktach II wojny światowej. Wspiera nas w tym zadaniu Pracownia Dokumentacji Dziejów Miasta Płońska, która nieprzerwanie od 25 lat gromadzi relacje świadków, a także pamiątki i dokumenty związane z naszym miastem. Przygotowuje także lekcje lokalnej historii dla dzieci i młodzieży z Płońska i powiatu płońskiego. Od kilkunastu lat uczniowie z dwóch płońskich szkół podległych miastu biorą udział w Marszu Żywych w Oświęcimiu, gdzie wspólnie z tysiącami kolegów i koleżanek z całego świata czczą pamięć o ofiarach Holokaustu. Z wielką przyjemnością i często ze wzruszeniem spotykam się z młodzieżą z Izraela, która przyjeżdża do Płońska w ramach programu edukacyjnego. Spotykamy się na skwerze Dawida Ben-Guriona, rozmawiamy, a na znak przyjaźni zawieszamy żelazne listki na tak zwanym drzewu pamięci. Co roku organizujemy Dni Kultury Żydowskiej w mieście Ben-Guriona, które cieszą się zainteresowaniem mieszkańców Płońska i okolic. Od zeszłego roku uczniowie Płońskiej Szkoły Podstawowej prowadzą wymiany online z młodzieżą z Kiryat Motzkin, z czego bardzo się cieszę i gorąco im kibicuję. Jako burmistrz Płońska i wieloletni członek Zarządu Międzynarodowego Stowarzyszenia Miast Orędowników Pokoju mogę z pełnym przekonaniem stwierdzić, że właśnie na młodym pokoleniu Polaków, Żydów spoczywa obowiązek budowania bezpiecznego świata pokoju. Jestem przekonany, że właśnie w ten sposób, nawiązując bezpośrednie relacje między polską i żydowską młodzieżą, zawiążą się przyjaźnie, uda się tego dokonać. W 2021 roku odsłoniliśmy wspólnie z przedstawicielami ambasady Izraela w Polsce mural poświęcony pierwszemu premierowi Izraela, urodzonemu w Płońsku, Dawidowi Ben-Gurionowi. Wykonał go znany artysta street artu Bruno Neumarer. Jako samorząd podejmujemy także kolejne inicjatywy mające na celu zachowanie pamięci o naszej historii dwóch narodów, polskiego i żydowskiego. Do końca roku zostanie otwarte wyjątkowe miejsce, Dom Dobrej Pamięci, znajdujący się w kamienicy przy ulicy Warszawskiej 2. Będzie on poświęcony historii Płońska, historii Polaków i Żydów, którzy w naszym mieście i na tej ziemi płońskiej żyli razem od XV wieku. Znajdzie się w nim także sala poświęcona Dawidowi Ben-Gurionowi. Bardzo dziękuję za spotkanie, dziękuję za możliwość wzięcia udziału w dzisiejszym spotkaniu. Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much. We have a special program with Płońsk 2 schools. The school of the name Ben-Gurion from Kiryat Motzkin and a school from Płońsk are studying together the second year in virtual lessons about leadership, about Ben-Gurion, about the cultures and about the countries. So thank you very much. I'm honored to invite Mr. Tony Koppen, Mayor Bad Segeberg. Please. Mr.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can understand me.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you for the invitation to this important event. We cannot make heaven out of the earth, but each of us can do something to prevent it from becoming heaven. The sentence of Fritz Bauer is, from my point of view, hope and warning at the same time. A hell on earth, that was the Holocaust. January 27 is dedicated to all victims of the Nazi regime, of injustice and violence, to all those who were persecuted, tortured, and murdered. We honor the dead, and we remember the survivors who escaped the horror, but were never able to overcome what they suffered, who were deeply wounded and often scared for life. We have developed a culture of remembrance, keeping alive the memory of this dark chapter in our history is part of our self-image. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should, will, and must remain so. And in order to pass on knowledge about the past and preserve memory, we need not only history lessons in our schools and educational institutions, but also commemoration. Because commemoration not only asks about the past, but also relates to the present. Commemoration means not only reflection, but also action. Commemoration helps us to recognize the first signs of a softening of a threat to our values. That is also why it is so important. Ladies and gentlemen, when we gather today to commemorate, we are not only remembering a dark chapter in our history and paying our respects to the victims, then we also affirm that we will do everything we can to ensure that the earth never again becomes hell. Thank you for your attention and best regards from Bad Segeberg.
Thank you very much, Mayor of Bad Segeberg. I'm honored to invite a representative from the city of Bystrzyca Kłodzka, Poland, Mrs. Olympia Ivanska, Chef of Innovation. Please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today because my mayor, Mrs. Renata Surma, and chairman of our city council are sick. So on behalf of my mayor and the chairman of the city council, I apologize for their absence due to illness. I would like to read some speech that they should give today by themselves. I would like to thank for the invitation to this extraordinary ceremony and warmly greet the survivors on the next anniversary of the experience that left such strong mark on both our nations. World War II took the most abundant harvest of the human life in the history of the world. As a result of the deliberate and intentional policy of Nazi Germany, people were killed in the organized extermination machine, whose main crime was that they were different somehow. They were different religion, came from a different culture, or were disabled. 2 years ago, during the celebration of the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp, historian Marian Turski said that Auschwitz did not fall from the sky, but it came from a human indifference and discrimination and xenophobic behavior of fellow citizens. In our opinion, the best remedy of xenophobia is education. If cognition and experience replace image and stereotype, there will be no room for prejudice, discrimination, and xenophobia. At this point, I would like to thank Leah Ganor for the great work she does to building bridges between the local communities of Poland and Israel, and Polish diplomats, especially Mrs. Katarzyna Rybka-Iwańska, for the great support that she gives to the initiatives implemented between Kiryat, Motzkin, and Bystrzyca Kłodzka. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I wish all of you lots of health, and take care.
We will.
Thank you. I am honored to invite Mr. Albert Statkowski, Director, Museum Ghetto Warsaw, Member Board of Auschwitz, Majdanek, and more concentration camps in Poland, a member of Board of Jewish Community, and more other functions, Poland. Mr. Stankowski, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening, Leah. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor, and it's a very important day tomorrow for us. And I'm so glad to see that the victims is important for so many people, and we try to carry for the next generation memory about this, to remember. And I think this is what they said, Minister Nachman Shai, it's very important to fight with the anti-Semitism. This is only the way, it's the education. This is why I so glad to work and to cooperate with Leah and with others who want to join the project together between Poles and young Jews all over the world. I have a great honor and responsibility to leading the project, which was funded by the Polish Ministry of Culture, Warsaw Ghetto Museum. Only what I can say that this is 80 years too late, that we have not so many now chance to ask so many questions to the Holocaust survivors. But I'm hope that in 2024, we will open the new museum in heart of Europe, in the capital of Poland, which will be commemorated for the next generation, the Holocaust, and that will never happen again, this horror which did Germans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Albert. I wish we will gathered here again next year, and when the museum, the Warsaw Ghetto Museum will open, we can make this conference in your museum.
בעזרת השם.
I would like to finish our wonderful conference with two questions to Miriam Arel. Miriam, you are with us, yes, Miriam? Yes, we had here many representatives from different countries over the world. And there are a lot of questions, but we have short time. I will concentrate in two main questions. One question, Miriam, what is the practical message that you would like to transfer to this audience and for the next generation? What do you think? So you are on mute. Miriam, you are on mute. Please open your microphone. Miriam, you are on mute. Miriam, just a second. מרים, את על מיוט. מרים, את על מיוט, לא שומעים. Okay.
Okay. First of all, the first of all is never again. We in Israel, we must be very strong to have a good soldiers, a good army, and to live the life of the Bible, and to be Jewish, very proud to be Jewish, and never again to hear bloody Jew and so on and so on. The second thing that I think, I am speaking to every Catholic person who is here, please stop blaming us for the death of Jesus Christ, Jesus Christus. Jesus Christus was born a Jew. His name was Yehoshua. His father was Yosef. His mother was Miriam. And his grandmother was born in Nazareth, Hannah. No Anna, no Marie, no Joseph. And he was a Jew. And in some time in his life, he decided to be a Messiah, a God. Who killed him? No one of us know. And it could not be that all of our Jews, all the years, all the 1,000 years, we are blamed about the death of Jesus Christ. Please, stop it, stop it. Let us live our life. We are no vervluchte Juden. We are people like everyone. I am a mother of 3 children and 9 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. All of them are very educated, and I am very proud to be the head of the family. Now I am the latest of people from my own family who were 700. And I am the only one who is still alive. I am not sure what will be tomorrow. But today I am 97 old and 3 months, because I was born 10th of November 24. It was the night of the Kristallnacht, which was in November, between 9 and 10 of November. Please let us live as I like to live. We are not stupid. We are not bad. We are not liars. We are good people. We like to help one to another. And I am sure that you will think again to stop to blame us for the death for you, God. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam. I have another question to you.
Okay.
So what do you think, what will be the best way in the future to learn about what happened in a generation that will not meet Holocaust survivors? What will be the best way to implement the memory of the Holocaust?
Everything was you did, what I do, and other people, is not to forget what happened, because it was the greatest tragedy in the world, in the universe, the greatest tragedy. We all believe that the German people are with culture, very, very educated, and they were the greatest murders, killers of small children.
But you are an optimistic, Miriam, you are a very optimistic person. When you meet students, you are even telling jokes. So what is your motto for your life? Because you are 97 and you look like 18 and you act like 18. Your memory is so sharp and you are so talented. You write books. So what is your secret?
I am happy to be alive. I love every morning to see the sun and to hear the songs of the birds. I am a very happy person. Everything is okay. I have not forgot nothing, but I am very optimistic. And just now, in the age of 27, I wrote my book number 20, and I can write again and again and again, because I am okay with myself. I have my health. I am a healthy person in my old age.
So Miriam, you, despite of the horrible past you have gone through, despite of all, you are, as other Holocaust survivors, a miracle like I described, like a phoenix from the ashes. You got new life, and you Holocaust survivors contribute a lot to the state of Israel. Time is running, and we are almost finished our conference. I know that in our audience now, there are more Holocaust survivors, even some that I know personally. If someone wants to add comment, this is the time to do it. If someone from the Holocaust survivors who are sitting here with us would like to say something, please, this is the time. Okay? This is the time. Who wants to say, I know that you are sitting here and maybe you would like to say something.
I just want to add that I like people.
This is your secret.
I like people. I like everyone, no matter if he is black or white or yellow. People are people, or let them live their life.
So
no wars, no more, anyone in any place, not in Israel.
So we must join
we
together.
Can live together with the Arabs. If they want to be happy with us, it's okay.
So we all want to build bridges, and this is the reason why we had here the conference. So if anyone from the Holocaust survivors who are sitting with us would like to say something, this is the time. If someone wants to add, I don't want to embarrass anyone and ask you personally, but there are here, and I think that this conference symbolized really our good connections, our partnership and friendship. And I wish we will work together and develop lots of educational program exchanges, exchanges of youngsters, exchanges of adults, exchanges of different kind of groups, because this is the way, as we did today, to talk, to love people. This is the way to build a bridge to a better future. I thank you all for accepting our invitation, because your willingness really warmed our hearts, and it's not obvious. The state of Israel needs friends like you. And I know everyone from here, most of the people personally. I visited places, I met people, I am corresponding with you, even there are some that I didn't meet personally, but we correspond and we have connections. So I wish in the future, when the pandemic is over, we must meet face to face, we must visit each other and work together, stand together, and build bridges and a better future. So
Bye-bye.
I would like to say to all of you, good evening.
I just want to say that I have my teeth because I gave away the piece of bread in ghetto to heal my teeth. I read without glasses. I have a good ear. I like classic music, and I am a person like I was young.
So you are my heroine, yes? You are the best example for all of us. You are the best example. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you all.
I can tell all the Polish people who hear me that my books were translated to the Polish language. You can find them in Poland.
Thank you. Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Stay healthy.
You are great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good evening.
My God.